Alrighty, we are live. We are here. We had some technical difficulties before we went live, but I'm so excited for today and to have Amen here. And I'm just like, I'm so excited to talk about this book. I literally just finished it an hour ago. So, welcome, guys, to A Very Bookish Podcast's first live stream discussion. And, I had to have my girl Ayman on today and to talk about a book that she loves and that
Yes.
I have conflicts with, which we're going to be talking about Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. Full spoiler warning. Like, this is a full spoiler warning. Like, if you do not want spoilers, leave now. Like, just exit the building. We have literally a spoiler warning tab at the bottom. It's full discussion. We're going in-depth detail. It's going to be a great stream. I have thoughts.
Yep. Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts, and Emma knows that I have some conflicts.
I'm like kind of scared for your thoughts, but I feel like, I don't know, we're going to have a really good discussion. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I love dark romance. I'm a dark romance girl. We're both dark romance girlies. And I have to say, I guess kind of just getting into it, I think this is my most like dark book when it comes to like the consent and stuff. I think I'm like,
right.
Oh,
okay.
Like
right.
Yeah.
I read this, I think, a year ago. It could have been way less than that. I don't feel like it's been a year. Yeah, I think it was actually last fall, not even a year.
It was July 2022.
Oh, thank you.
That's when you wrote your review, at least.
Okay, yeah. I usually write my reviews right after reading XYZ book. But no, yeah, it's definitely the darkest out of subject matter, consent, all those levels that I've read thus far. And if you think book 1 is dark, like book 2 is crazy. Like I'm not gonna give too much away because I know you haven't read it yet, but it's freaking like you have to give me like page by page reactions when you get to it. But
would I
still
say
really loved it. Yeah.
The end of the book. So I finished it a little bit over an hour ago. I was listening to the audiobook. I was like, oh my God, I was so enthralled. I was like flipping the pages. I was like, oh, this is good. And then this cliffhanger that they leave it off on. And I'm like,
yeah, it's literally Adeline gets kidnapped. And from what we know, the people that kidnapped her are these very bad people. So a lot of
society.
Yeah, the society. Oh wait, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, just instead of like the R word, use like essay or like
okay. So for
unalive kind of thing for YouTube. But yeah, other than that, should be good.
Sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, it ends like, this society thing has been, I guess they've been foreshadowing it throughout the entire book. And it's like, ooh, what's the thing? What's it about? Blah, blah, blah. How is this conflict going to come about? And it ends right at like the most pivotal like plot point. Like we're finally like face to face with them. Like this shit is real. It's not like this hoax. It's not this myth. It's this thing. And now our main girl is in severe danger.
Okay. I think the best way to start is from the beginning of the book because
we're
all over the place. But I think because I just finished it, I think I contacted you a couple of weeks ago and I started texting you about it when I was like reading it and stuff. And then I was like, oh my gosh, we should just do a podcast live because I've been meaning to do live like podcasts for YouTube. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to ask Amon if she wants to come. And so maybe next time we'll have like Salma on because I know she loves the series and we can all talk about it. But so I got the book and I was like, I've had the book for about a year and I have not read it. And I kind of was scared to read it because like I got mixed reviews from it. Some people are like, do not read it. And other people are like, it's so good, you have to read it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I finally got Audible. And so I was like, I had 1 credit and I was like, what's a book I'm going to read with 1 credit? And I was like, I need like a thick book I can read. And so I got this thicker than a Snicker book. And I was like, it's like a 17-hour audiobook. And I'm like, Perfect.
Mhm. And the audiobook came out, like, a lot later than the paperback. It hasn't even been a year since the audiobook has came out.
Yeah,
Um, and
it's
isn't
good
it,
though.
like it's a good audiobook. I've heard clips and this and that
Yes.
from TikTok, and it's not
Mhm.
just dual narration, but it's, like, where they're reading each other's lines and each POV, if that makes sense? Like, you know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about, you obviously heard it.
yeah.
But, like, whenever Zaid has his line, he is reading it. Whenever Addie has her line, she's reading it. And even the little, like, in between, like, descriptions and stuff like that, I love it. And the voice for them, I feel like it fits perfectly. Like, Zayd's voice, that raspy, husky, musky, dusty not dusty, but beautiful voice, is just, like, perfect. I love it so much.
Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why I think the audiobook kept me going is because all the dialogue was in the character's voice. So if it like was a male character, it was the male narrator saying it, or if it was a female character, it was the female character saying it. So or female narrator saying it. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the only reason why I started this book. And I started it probably earlier this month
Yeah.
during my spring break, which was the second week of March, and I finally finished it because I literally had to put it off because I was like, if I finish this now and I have so many thoughts already, I don't think I'd be able to hold off until the live stream to talk with you about it.
Yeah, like, I remember I already had both of the books when I finished the first one.
Mhm.
Immediately, like, not even, "Okay, I'll wait till the next day because I finished book 1 in, like, the middle of the night, and then I picked up I just needed to read at least chapter 1 of the next book, and there's so much just goes down in just the first chapter, but I love how this book just really it keeps us in the entire time. It's very enthralling. Um, but no, yeah, I wanna know more about your thoughts of, like, the
Oh,
characters, the subject matter. Was it is did you find your limit or you're like, "Oh, this is okay?"
I think I found my limits in certain areas, and then
Yeah,
other areas I'm like, I'm totally fine with this. So kind of I wrote my review today and I was kind of doing my like off the bat kind of thoughts in my review.
yeah,
And so I loved the story. I'm a stalker romance girly, like Savar Miller's stalker romance. I
yeah,
loved Vipers and Virtuosos is the one that I'm like obsessed with. And I'm writing also a stalker romance at the moment. So like it was really the vibe I was going with at the moment. And I finished it and I was like, my thoughts overall is I really loved the subplot outside of the romance.
yeah,
I don't know how she did it, but she made it so interesting that I wanted to keep reading it and it allowed me to like I love romance, but it felt more than just a romance book sometimes.
right,
And sometimes I wasn't reading it for the romance. I was reading it for the action part and like the thrill part. Um,
right,
so I liked that. And then the part of the books that I did not like, which I've told you about, is the kind of like implied consent
yeah,
and the essay that happens within the book between the two main characters.
mhm.
And kind of my thoughts were as I wrote in my review about it, I kind of will just probably read off my review or like just summarize what my review said. But I talked about how I also, where is my okay, that's fine. Uh, but anyways, I the thing with the book is I've read a lot of implied consent. I think it's The Saint by Chantal
Chantel
Tessier.
here, yeah.
Yeah,
Is that also,
Tessier.
like, really dark? That's, like
It's a really dark book and I loved it. Or it's The Ritual. And I
yeah,
was
that's right.
obsessed with it. I read it about a year ago and I loved it. It was everything I needed. And it had that chase scene of where he's chasing her and like running after her and then he fucks her in a cornfield. Like I loved that scene. And sorry if that's a spoiler for anybody, but it's just a sex scene.
No,
It's
now I'm,
fine.
like, more intrigued, like
It's good. If you liked Haunting
yeah.
Adeline, I think you would like it.
Yeah, I've heard, like, if you like one or the other, you'll
Yeah.
enjoy it. Yeah,
And in
that's
that
the
one, it was a lot it was more implied consent where it was like the characters never said no,
yeah,
but like they wanted it. Like you knew from their internal dialogue that they were wanting it.
yeah,
but they were saying no as more of that like thrill and chase kind of thing. And then in this book, I still felt that she was saying like, no, I don't want this, but I want it so bad. But there's still like the aspect of her admitting that he essayed her and assaulted her. And I was like,
That was kind of, like, unexpected because usually, like, when these things happen in dark romance, which is, like, it's nothing new, like,
yeah,
dark romances, like, they have these, essay scenes here and there in certain books, but they never really just talk about it, it just usually happens, and then us readers just kinda deal with it, read the rest of the book, this and that, but in this one particularly, they're like, "Yes, we," like, or "He essayed me," um, and it happened, and, like, how I remember how it went down. It was like at first it wasn't consensual, but then it became consensual. Um, and how I quickly I mean, obviously, just to be clear, I don't condone like almost everything that happened in this book, just to be clear. I know
mhm,
all of us dark
yeah,
romance girlies have to clarify that whenever we talk about these books. But
mhm,
like it's even especially reading the second book, like from this book, like her kink is obviously like non-consensual sex.
yeah,
So that was like, "Okay, I I see how she's seeing through this."
yeah.
Um, it gave me more, okay, understanding, and even the author herself said, like, "These characters, this relationship is not something to, like,
Aspire to
oh"
have.
yeah, aspire, like, goals, whatever. They are toxic people, and they're toxic to each other, but it's also in a dark romance genre, so it's kind of expected, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, I guess my main problem is that like Zaid's character is somebody who despises people who essay children and women
yeah,
and
that was a
this
bit
the human sex
yeah,
trafficking, like that's a big plot point in this book. And the fact that he like at the end, like the mirror house scene or the mirror
yeah,
haunted house, like that scene, I was gobbling it up because that's
that
when
was
she
good.
recognizes
Yeah.
she's like, I want you to like force it on me. And she like realizes that too. And like she has that realization. But I feel like in the beginning scenes, especially the gun scene, I was like, I've read those kinds of scenes before with guns and
Same.
being put up there.
Yeah.
But it felt different due to it wasn't as implied consent as it was other, I think, parts of the book where it implied consent. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's where that was my limit of like I think I gave it 3 stars because I was like, I couldn't give it more because of this. And
Yeah.
I think it was just I understand, like, how romance authors it's dark and it's gonna happen, but I feel like I know it's implied consent, but I think it's the fact that the character even says she views it as an assault, and
Yeah.
then
It felt unnecessary, like
it did, and it made me not fully fall in love with Zayd because I felt
yeah.
like he was still a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Because he was fighting against these pedophiles and these rapists and like while stalking a woman and essaying her and
Yeah.
admitting to that, but then going under the guise, well, I have good intentions. I'm going to marry you. I'm going to get you pregnant. I'm going to like, you're the love of my life. When like, I understand like in a real world scenario, that's like dumb and stupid. But even in the book, I was like, okay, but like, you still essayed her, and I understand it's
Yeah.
a dark romance, but I think that's where my line was drawn when they both admitted that it was an
It was
essay, and it
yeah.
prevented me from loving Zayd to the fullest extent that I can,
Right.
and I think I'll probably have a different perspective when I read the second book, and
Yeah.
I probably get more understanding, but I felt like within this first one, it was something that just crossed the line where I couldn't get past it in the book. I mean, I still love the book and I still really enjoyed it, and I understand why there's so many heavy triggers for this book. Nothing that really
Yeah.
triggered me because I'm in therapy. Everybody should go to therapy.
We love
With peace, love, and violence, go to therapy.
peace, love, and violence,
With
please.
peace, love, and
Yeah.
violence, go
I
to
remember
therapy.
there was this, like, one line that I forgot Adeline's best friend's name. What was her name?
Um,
I forgot, but anyways, Adeline's, like, BFF that, like, stays with her, and she also, like, works for Zayd's company. I remember her even saying that, like, "Oh, well, if he's this guy that, saves people from SA and
Mhm.
tortures all these bad people, maybe that like, it makes sense for that to leak into his real life. I remember
Yeah.
that not author, I remember that character saying that, and to me, I was like, "Okay, is this the author saying this is the reason why it happened?"
Yeah.
It's because his occupation leaked into his personal life, which
Yeah.
to me, like, in real life, it's not an excuse, like, there is no excuse, period. Um, but I get what you're saying of, like, not fully loving Zayd. I felt the same way after reading book 1. And even in book 2, like, no matter what happens in book 2, the fact that this still happened is it's obviously not okay, and from all the stuff that goes down in book 2, I'm not saying I forgive him or I just, forgot about that fact or anything. I'm really not gonna spoil it, I promise. But, like, you so much action, like, this first book, I know we mentioned in the beginning, it has a lot of background action besides the romance, like, the whole my grandmother was had also been stalked by this
That
person.
that storyline I was absolutely in love with. I was like, "Who
Yeah.
murdered her grandmother? Who did it?" Like, or her great-grandmother. I was like, "Who did it?" And I was like, "It's the husband."
Yeah.
Immediately when I found out, I was like, "It was the husband."
Wait, they say who it is in the first book, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they revealed that it was her great-grandfather, and then her grandmother helped cover it up, and then her mom was the one who sent her like, a black envelope with all of, like, files and stuff,
Yeah.
and she kind of reveals that's why her mom and her grandmother never got along was because her mom was mad that her grandmother that her Adeline's mom was mad that Adeline's grandmother covered up Adeline's great-grandmother's murder.
Yeah,
It's a
so
lot.
many
Gigi's murder, but yeah,
busy, yeah.
it
So much
was
goes down,
it was a
but
lot.
right. Um, what I felt was, like, like, she obviously Gigi died, the one that was murdered, right? Great-grandmother. And then the her stalker, I forgot his name, but then he dies of, like
Ronaldo?
yeah, Ronaldo. He dies of a heartbreak, like, what's it called? Something syndrome? That
Yes,
was
he
so sad.
dies from heartbreak, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
I'm just like,
that's."
"Wow. Wow." But, that was so interesting. Just, like, this, like, background story, almost like mystery, I mean, literally mystery that's going on
Mhm,
with all this, like, chaotic romance stuff, and like, personally, I really love Adeline as a character, like, one, she was, like, you know, she really loves horror and, like, things
mhm,
that are haunted and scary things, they turn her on. I'm not saying I'm the same person as her, but I'm like, "Okay, girl, I kinda understand where you're coming from."
yeah.
But, what was your, I wanna ask, like, what's your favorite did you have, like, a favorite scene overall? A favorite type of scene? Um, I definitely loved any, like, chasing scene, like, "Run, little mouse," and
I
it's the
I'm just
build
gonna
up that's really good. The build up for
it
each
is.
scene is like, damn, that's some good stuff.
I will say Ruby's commented about, "I'm definitely gonna listen
Oh,
to the
how was it?
audiobook now." Yeah, it didn't show on our side of the stream, but I'm looking at, on
Okay, I
YouTube.
don't see it on my side, so maybe I don't see it, but
Yeah, but yes, I highly agree, you should listen to the audiobook, it makes the
yeah,
experience a lot better, and I think it helps get through the book as well, through those harder scenes,
yeah,
it does, and I think the narrators did an amazing job,
amazing
and
job.
so you definitely should read the audiobook.
Yeah, and especially for how thick this book is, like, maybe an audiobook is the way to go if you just wanna read it to get through it, or read it to read the second book, whatever it is, like, whether you do audiobook or paperback, it works. Like, I read it through paperback before the audiobook ever came out, but, I think I might just go ahead and buy the audiobooks just to have them and listen to them,
Mhm.
because they're
Yeah.
so well done. Like, you can tell so much time, money, effort has been put into it. Um, so no, yeah, I appreciate
I
it.
Yeah, but I think my favorite, like, spicy scene would
Yeah,
be I th mm, I think it'd have to be I think one of the last ones where he chases her into the woods. And
Oh, yeah,
then
that's in the and then he, like, rips off her leggings, that one?
he, like, rips off her shirt and her leggings and
Yeah.
then fucks her against a tree and
Yeah,
then fucks
that
her in
one's
the back of
really
her
good.
car. I was
Yeah.
like
That
I
one
was
was
reading
so
that.
long. It
It
was
was
so
so
long,
long.
which was almost
Mhm.
like they really go at it,
They
and,
do.
like, literally all night, not even joking, but it's
I
literally like
know.
I love that scene because what was it? She was like, "Okay, this tell me," because 'cause I'm, like, confusing the timelines. She's, like, watching the news, and then he comes in.
Yes, and
Yeah,
she tries to call 911 and he
yes,
stops her, and then she, like, tries to get away and she's, like, running through the woods, and then he catches up to her and
yes.
then, like, gets her on the ground, and she's like, "Oh, okay,
She's like,
cousin, you're
"Okay, this is
gone."
happening. This is
Yeah.
happening." What I loved about that was, like, I just love the build-up scenes to this, like, more than maybe the smut. Like, okay, maybe I love them equally, but I just really appreciate the build-up scenes because it was, like, her watching the news, all this shit goes down because I don't know if we mentioned this, but, like, there's, essay trafficking going on, and they're just, like and Zayd and his team are
Kills politicians.
yeah, they're gonna take him down basically and everything. And she's watching the news of like this kind of like unfold, and like her thought is like, okay, I have to break it off with him. Like it's done, we're over. I have to think about my own safety. He's putting me in danger, this and that, whatever. And then he comes in, and then she tells him all that, and he's like, That's not happening. Like we are in this forever. You and me for lifers."
I love how he literally has her, like, pinned in the forest and basically, like, reveals to her that she's already being targeted by the society, like,
Yeah,
everything is already, like, going wrong in her life, and the only reason she still is alive is because of Zaid, and she's
yeah.
just kind
Like
of
you
like
need him. Like
she's like, "Oh,
regardless.
fuck, I'm turned on," and I was like, me too, girly, me too."
Yeah, I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, to be Addie in that scene."
Oh, I was
Um,
so jealous.
yes, like but no, yeah, just that besides the whole, like I think that was my favorite non-romancy, plot point that was going on throughout the book, like, the whole, grandmother mystery thing, like, who actually killed her, whatever, was interesting, but it wasn't my favorite behind the scenes
Mhm.
thing that was going on. It was mostly, like, taking down this
Yeah.
trafficking, situation, whatever that's going on with all these corrupt people and politicians and such, like, that shit was and so, like, interesting and
Yeah.
well done, well written in my opinion. I can't wait till you read book 2 because, like,
I'm
so
so
much is
excited.
that is, like besides the romance, that is the pivotal plot point, if
Yeah.
anything. Like, we still get a lot of romance, but it's more the plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm excited because I also loved the scene. I think it was Mark, the governor or senator,
Mm,
who literally him and Zaid were walking down the street, and then they go into the restaurant, and Addie there is sitting reading the book, and
yeah,
he catches the
yes,
attention. And then this is the first time in public where Zaid and Addie like officially like meet in public, and he's just like,
yeah.
"Do as I say," and like pretend to be like a good girlfriend and stuff like that. And I was just
Yeah.
like,
That scene, I loved that scene because, like, he didn't not because like, Zayd is always all-knowing, but he didn't know she was gonna be in there, and, he's just trying to protect her while taking down this, like, asshole, and I loved the scene afterwards when he's, like, explaining it all to her, and they literally just start making out
making
against the
out
car, and then this, like, kid and her mom start seeing them, and they're like, "Are they having sex,
sex.
mommy?" That
It
was
was
just like
hilarious. It was
yes.
hilarious. I was like, "Oh." It's like that cringe moment where you're like, "Oh,
You're like,
no."
"Oh, this is actually, like, 2 people in public right now."
Yeah.
Um, but, oh my gosh, like, one thing besides the this book being, like, dark, romance, stalker, this and that, is, like, it's also, like, funny, like, the little bits of humor and, you get to that character, I forgot her name, Sibby,
City,
right?
yes, the
Sibby,
doll,
the doll, yeah, which
the
she's also
scapegoat.
yeah, a funny character, and I believe I don't know if I read this right, but I think, HD Carlton's gonna do something with her character, I think I'm not gonna spoil it for you,
Mhm.
but, have her own series, I don't know if it's a series or standalone, but something like that's coming out, I know for sure. Um,
Ooh.
but no, yeah, that and Right, I'm just, like, trying to think what else happens,
So much happens in this book,
yeah,
like, I
like
forget so much about what happened. I feel like
right, it's like, we read it pretty fast, but, like, so much happened. It for real was like a whole TV show in my head, m not even a movie, like, episode by episode, like, I don't know, HBO TV series in my head. Um,
I totally forgot that literally Grayson punched a hole through her wall of, like because he got mad at her because she didn't wanna have sex, and he, like, punched the hole in the wall and then left. Do you remember that scene?
who did? Oh, in the
Grayson?
beginning. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that asshole, right?
Yeah, there was
And
that
it's
scene.
like, how are you gonna punch this, like, historic manor? You're gonna
Yeah,
have to pay for that drywall. Like,
I know.
what and, like, what's his fate? What happens to him? Right? Does something
I
happen
don't
to
think
him?
any no, it's the other guy that she
The
meets at
other
the
guy, yeah.
club
And
whose
then the
hands
hand,
and
right?
then Zayn literally fucking murders his entire family.
Yeah, and, like, okay, rightfully so because he's a bad guy, and
Mhm,
so is his family, they're all corrupt people, part of this, like, whole SA trafficking thing that's going on,
yeah.
and he sends Addie because, like, Addie met him, like, in a club or something, and then they went home, and then he fingered her, and then it was like, didn't they text her, like, "If you let him touch you, like, his hands,
Yes.
like, get cut off or whatever?" Which he actually what? Go on.
Oh, no, keep going, I'll add
Yeah,
on after.
like, it actually shows up on her doorstep, his hands in a box. Zeta's so thoughtful for that, honestly, like, so
Okay, I that's one of the parts I loved about the beginning was the kind of, like, tense torture that he gave her through sending these text messages, and I wish it
yeah,
was still played out more in the end of the book because I feel like it was just kind of forgotten about, but then I also realized, like, they were meeting more face to face and all that jazz, but it still would've been nice, I feel like, to have a little bit of banter and stuff while they were,
mhm,
like, separate, and I feel like it would've been really good if, like, during the horror haunted house scenes, like,
yeah,
she was getting texts and she's like, "Oh my gosh, where the fuck is he?" Kinda thing, and
yeah.
then they have, like, I mean, in retrospective, I still think it was amazing, but I wish we had more of those, like, cute banter moments because the banter in those text messages, I was like, "Oh,
No,
girly
yeah,
pop,
because it's
I see
like,
you."
she's not just gonna really let it happen, she's really, like, barking back at him, which I like
Mhm.
that this character is not someone that just takes it, like,
Yeah.
if he's gonna bark, I'm gonna bark back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, yes, is she playing fire with fire, but it's still very entertaining, and I do agree, I wish we had a little bit more of that, um, but from what we got, it was still wildly entertaining, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I also one thing that I, like, totally forgot is, like, the whole, like, cop plot point and, like, of them, like but then I also remember that literally Zaid was, like, infiltrating the cops' systems and deleting all of
Yeah,
her reports about her stalker. So every time the cops would come, they're like, "We have no reports of a stalker." And she's like, "I
yeah.
literally had you here, like, 2 weeks ago for a stalker." And they're like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, we don't know what to do. We'll make a report." And then it gets deleted. I'm like, "Zaid!"
Yeah,
Like
Zayd's like, hacker mastermind person, and also the fact that she sets up security cameras, but Zayd owns the company to those security cameras, and so, like, whenever he'd be on her property, he would just delete that footage. Like,
yeah.
this dude is crazy, but and unhinged, but I love him.
Like
Um,
yeah.
and also her friend, I know this really it's more coincidence. Her best friend works for his company,
Yeah.
which I'm like, "Okay." But
She's
yeah.
part of his network of spies, and I that's also what I really loved about the, like, subplots to the romance was this Z organization and, like, the hackers behind it and the infiltrating of human trafficking and kind of, like, helping women get out and, like, live a better life or go back to their families kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think like, "Oh, that's such a good plot point," but then it feels
Yeah.
kind of destroyed by Zayd's character a little bit, I felt like,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, "Okay, I get how like, it's his whole life, and then he's kind of becoming who he hates a little
Yeah,
bit."
it was just so unnecessary. Like, to me, like, okay, I understand that her kink is non-consensual sex, which, okay, whatever, kinks are your kinks, no problem, whatever. But, like, that scene was not necessary, or just, like the fact that they both admitted that it was what it was, like, SA at the end of the day,
Yeah.
um
And he didn't really apologize for it. He said he
yeah,
wasn't going
it
to
just, like,
apologize.
that was the thing, I'm like, he didn't apologize, he didn't, like, cause he knew, like, I remember, after it happened, it switches to his POV, and then he's like, "I'm becoming what I'm, like, fighting against," or this or that, whatever the heck,
Yeah.
and it's like, you don't even feel guilty about it or anything, like, it's just
Yeah.
something that had happened, um, which no, yeah, like, I totally understand, like, Zayd book 1, Zayd is not, I mean, this character overall is not perfect,
Yeah, I
and
mean, neither of them are perfect.
yeah, they're very unhinged
Gray.
in their own gray, um, but no, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like what really kind of irked me too is the one of the last scenes where they do the fake FBI sting operation, and he has the girl like sitting on his lap, and he's talking about how repulsed he is by this situation and how he's like a little bit like exploiting this little girl, but then like he exploits Adeline and like
Yeah,
uses her uh just uses her and takes
yeah,
advantage of her. And I'm like, brother, you've been doing that already. You can't suck it up for a little bit. I'm like, it's a dark romance, boy. You should be able to act better and feel not indifferent to it if you're able to do it to a woman who you
yeah.
claim to love, kind of
I
thing.
I feel like, to be a book boyfriend, he'd have to go against all those things and even, like, not act upon them and blah, blah, blah. Because 'cause I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is his job, his occupation, whatever he's about." It just fully just does not make sense to me why that had to have happened. Like, sometimes I, like, even try to block out the memory of it and the fact that it happened, but it's just so pivotal, and, like, dark romance aside, this and that, whatever, just the, like, structure of the book, how things happen, this and that, it just, like, fully wasn't necessary. It would be like Addie having, like, magical powers in this contemporary book. It just, doesn't make sense. You're giving me apples and NASCAR drivers, like, it's not, I don't know.
Yeah, I that's what I kind of wrote in my review. I was like, it was an unnecessary addition,
Yeah,
and I think the characters are already toxic without that. And I
right.
think if she had said like, "Oh, like what we've seen before in like dark romance books of like I want it so bad, but then I also don't," like she says that later in the book, and it's not like one of the first scenes you get. Because I've read a book before where basically one character assaults another character, but that first character profusely apologizes and like understands his wrongdoing and is like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry I took advantage of you, and she ultimately forgives him. And like it's a dark romance, of course, so it would make sense, but I don't know what happens in book 2, but it never is really addressed. Like they address it that it was SA, but they never
yeah,
address that he is actually apologetic for it at all.
which it was so weird. It's because, like, you assaulted her. She knows you did that too,
Yeah.
and I know torture is nothing new in this book or whatever in all ways, shapes, and form, but, like, I feel like they, like, addressed it, but then never talked about it ever again, which I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay."
And I feel like it would have made sense to the story if she had a maybe she doesn't book 2, I have no idea, but if she had addressed it and he like apologized for it, I think I would be able to get over that. And then Adeline is like thinks about it a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I don't know what book 2 is because I know SA happens in book 2. I know that just from the trigger warnings and stuff. So
Yeah,
I'm interested to see that plot point of everything Addie goes through and how Zayd is going to react to basically the trauma that Addie has now.
yeah,
And so I'm excited to read about that. And I think that's one of the main aspects that I'm wanting to read the next book is because I want to see this relationship develop and how it's able to kind of mold to different situations and how Zayd is going to be able to react. Because the way I see Zayd now, I'm like, if she gets essayed, he's just going to go ahead and essay her again, even if she might not want it. But he's like, you definitely want it. Your
yeah,
body
if this
wants
is
it.
how he reacted the first time around, how's he gonna react the second time?
Yeah.
Or God
So
forbid it, but yeah.
yeah, so that's something I'm very interested in seeing and how H.D. Carlton deals with that, because that's something I feel like she needs to address in that book,
Yeah.
uh, which is
For
one of the reasons
all
why I'm excited to read it.
for everything that's included in book 2, again, not gonna spoil, but, you know, like, all the triggers and the heavy, subject matters, the way that she wrote all of them, I'm like, "This is how you write it." Like, she did well with
Mhm.
all the triggering subjects, the dark, themes, and it's real dark. It's the darkest I've ever it's not even dark, it's, like, pitch black, um, that I've seen in romance. I'm like, I'm glad she wrote it the way that she did because
Mhm.
that was my fear too. I'm like, knowing what's gonna be in this book and knowing how book 1 was written, how is she gonna write this and am I gonna enjoy it? Is it gonna be something that I'm like, I throw away, I don't want to be around it anymore, blah, blah, blah. But she did such a well job with writing, not even just the triggers, um, and those subject matters, but, like, think like, subject matters that aren't triggering, but are more just, like, emotional.
Mhm.
How she wrote those scenes, I'm like, "That's how you write them. That is
Mhm.
how it should have been written," and I'm glad she did it the way that she did. I know that's super vague, but I'm like, "Okay."
So I'm kinda getting the vibe that she kind of makes up for it from book 1, or she
Yeah,
adds to it a little bit more.
like, so, you know, like, she gets kidnapped at the end, and you
Mhm.
can expect what happens in book 2 to happen. Um, and my thing is, like, it's a romance, right? So, after and, you know, romance, they're gonna get it's happily ever after guaranteed in all shapes and forms. So they do get their happily ever after and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But my thing was, like, okay, if she's giving us all this triggering content, how is she gonna make up for it? Is it just gonna be
Mhm.
glossed over? Is it
Mhm.
gonna be just brushed aside, kinda like it was in book 1? No. I feel like
Okay.
book 2, she did what a lot of her readers were complaining about in book 1, because for me, like, not just this like, the whole essay thing, but just even some of the writing was kind of cringe to me in book 1. It, like,
Mhm.
fully improved in book 2. Like, a
Mhm.
lot of the faults in book 1 heavily improved in book 2, and that doesn't erase what happens in book 1. It's
Yeah.
just now it's well written, and
Yeah.
I've I don't know if she took criticism or she just got better or whatever, but I feel like she did. I feel like book 1, she took the criticism from it and was like, "Okay, let me, like, take this and do better in book 2," and my opinion, she did better. And now that I look at both books together as, like, one thing, I'm like, "Okay, I enjoy this." Um, I liked reading it, I like these characters, I like how things came about towards the end, and no, yeah, it's a book that I don't recommend, or I recommend very lightly. um, I remember recommending it to one of my friends who hadn't read, like, any dark romance at all, and this is the first dark romance book she read. And I'm like, "Didn't I tell you not to read this first?" And, I mean, like, she enjoyed it, I can't lie, but I was like, "Girl," no, I tell that to almost everyone that I recommend lightly recommend this book to. I'm like, "Don't let it be your, like, scapegoat into dark romance, like, build it up a little bit," you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, but, like, she, like, went straight for it. I'm like, "Okay."
Mhm.
Okay. But, no, yeah, it is yeah, it's gotta be the
I
darkest I've read. I haven't read any of the Chantal Tesser books, but I know those are really dark. But from what I've read in, like, past dark romances and stuff like that, this is definitely and it's not even just the romance aspect of it that is dark, it's the non-romance aspects of it, like, the plot that's going on in the background, um, and the situations that the characters are in. It's and one thing I gotta say is, like, yes, this is a book, it's fiction, but this is, like, real life stuff that happens, which is, like it's crazy to think about, but it's, like, how she wrote it and everything is not even, like, we might be a bit disturbed. I mean, I don't think who wouldn't be disturbed by all, like, the essay trafficking that happens, like, that plot point throughout both of the books, but the fact that this is real, like, this is not something she's made up. in fact, is probably worse in real life than it is from what we get in this duology. Um, but no, yeah, it fully gave me, like, perspective on that, like, this is real shit that happens. Sex trafficking is real, and um, it's, like, something that is in front of us in an invisible way. I don't know, I feel like I'm not making any sense right now.
I know
But you can
exactly what you're saying. It's like an underbelly of society that nobody really recognizes,
yeah,
and I
but it's,
think that
like,
this
it's
book
more
definitely brings it.
right, you're fully 100% correct. Um, but no, yeah. One thing I did oh, sorry, go on, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm looking through I'm what I'm doing as anybody who's watching, I'm actually scrolling through HD Carlton's Instagram to see if she posted a little bit about um okay, so I'm kind of okay, I'm gonna share this with people on the screen
Okay,
and I'm gonna so this is what she posted about
I can't even pronounce that, I'm not gonna even try.
autosassinophilia.
Wow.
That's my an aphilia in which sexual arousal and the achievement of orgasm are facilitated by the fantasy or belief that one is endangered of being killed. Um,
Interesting.
and I feel like this also applies to her Does It Hurt book, but I feel like this is kind of a kink that Adeline has
Yeah,
of wanting to um, you know, be in a little bit of danger and
yeah, like, she wants, like, the non-consensual, consensual sex.
yeah,
Um, the forcing upon her body, she definitely wants that, and it's even kind of hinted at how she's, like, this big horror fan, she gets turned on by fear.
yeah.
So, um
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot the movie scene where they're in the movie theater watching the
oh,
horror
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
That scene was so good too.
Yeah, and it's, like, this movie that hasn't even come out yet, they're in this, like, at-home theater, of, like, some guy or whatever, and also even that scene before that, like, he is kind of, like, using her to, as, like, because like, they're trying to take down the whole thing, the whole sex trafficking thing, and then he kinda uses her as a pawn in this whole, like, scheme that they're doing, and then it's like they're in this movie theater, and a lot of shit goes down when they're sitting next to each other, watching this movie, well, quote, unquote, "watching." Um, but no, yeah, I forgot about that too.
I was thinking about that because I was looking at her thingy and she has like these like horror kind of like countdown photos and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Literally like the part of the book where they go to Mark's house and
Yeah.
he basically fingers her in
Yeah,
the movie theater.
right.
And it was so good. It was so tense, and she was, like,
Yeah.
so turned on by the movie and, like, the horror of it, and I was like, "Girly pop, same."
No, yeah, I'm just like, "Damn, lucky
And
I
yeah,
am."
but that's what I'm so conflicted with right now is because there was that, like, hard line that it crossed for me, but then there were so many good aspects of the book that I was so genuinely excited about, and, like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so, like, tantalizing and so tense," and, like, it
Right.
keeps pushing me to read more, but I'm like, "Girl pop, you were essayed by a man, and he admitted to no wrongdoing," but then I'm also like, "Okay, this is fiction. This is fictional.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
agree
go with what
100%.
Addie wants." Like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I if this happened in real life, I would like, "Fuck you bitches, I'm gonna murder him for you."
Yeah.
Um, but I have to, like I have an internal struggle of, like, it's fiction, like, I know it's fiction, but it still crosses that line that was a little bit unnecessary for me, but I
Yeah, I
still
agree.
really enjoyed the book, but I had to give it 3 stars because of that.
Exactly. Like, at first I thought this book, like, going in, like, like, I rated the second book 5 stars, but the first one I rated, like, 4, I think. Um,
Mhm.
and no, yeah, I fully thought, like, I would be enthralled by this duology, and maybe overall, like, both of them together, um I am, but just the first book, say book 2 didn't exist or whatever, um, it's just, some things you just can't get over. Some things are like, "Oh, well, this just wasn't necessary." You kinda get what the author was trying to do, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it wasn't necessary. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I don't know, you can kind of see it in my review. I do short reviews. I'm not a person to do a long ass review.
Mhm.
I have too many thoughts in my brain to get a long ass review, so I just get short
Yeah.
snippets. But I feel like even in my review, I have that conflict where I'm like, and I think that's what she meant to do. Like, I genuinely
Right.
applaud her because I think she meant for us readers to feel conflicted the way Addie feels conflicted about being with Zaid. Of like,
Yeah.
we like what he does, but then we also don't like things he does, and it's like that
Yeah.
conflict
It
that
really is, like, we are Adeline and just like, "Ooh, this guy, he did all these things, but he also did all of these other nice things, and he was actually really tense here, and he was very entertaining here." Um, but no, yeah, it is really, like, we're kinda just, like, stuck, like, you know.
exactly where she is, where she's stuck. She's like,
Yeah.
she thinks about all the past things he did, but then she thinks about all the good times, and it's such like a roller coaster of emotions that I felt throughout the whole book. And I think that was the whole purpose of the book, really. Now that I'm sitting and thinking about it, I'm like,
Yeah, like,
okay, I see
maybe
what you're
this
doing.
this was H.D. Carlton's, like, plan the entire time just to get us all fuzzy up here,
Yeah.
and, um, but no, yeah, there's a lot to, I guess, process when it comes to this book, yeah.
Yeah. And also, like, I feel now that, like, I think about it and I feel how I feel now, I'm, like, processing the book still, and I feel like I'm still gonna be processing this book
Yeah,
for a while, but I
yeah,
will say it was beautiful. It wasn't beautifully written, but it was written enough that to keep me engaged and keep me
yeah,
going,
the writing
and
was
the
very
fact
simplistic and
yeah.
kept me in.
Yeah, and the way she would describe things, I also felt was, like, very interesting. I think, like, there was one quote where, like, Zayd was talking about how he felt like he was on, like, a frying pan, and, like, the analogy of feeling, like, so I don't remember what, but, like, burnt out, like, on a frying pan, and I was like, "Damn, that's a good"
Yeah,
like, I feel that, like, I know exactly what you're feeling, and there were parts of the book where I was like, "Okay, I know exactly what she's feeling and all this stuff," but
right. You know
there were
what
also
I really appreciated that it kind of, like, almost made me forget everything that Zayd had done in the beginning was when she's on her bed, it's, like, in the middle of the night, and he comes in, and then he's not even trying to sexually advance her or anything, he's just super tired from the day that he's had, and then Adeline just, like, ends up massaging him and kissing him, and, like, this is before they actually have sex,
mhm.
and she kinda tries to have sex with him, but he stops her, and he's like, "I'm not gonna have you like this. I'm gonna have you, like, when I'm not mentally, like, you know, in this mental stage at this moment." Pretty much, but like, okay, out of all the shit that happens in this duology, this book and whatever, that was pretty wholesome. Like, I was like, "Oh, that was actually so cute."
Okay, but also the scene after after he chases her down in the woods and they basically sleep together all night, in the morning when they're, like, on her balcony together, it was
Like,
like this yeah, it was like it was the morning after,
they have, like, that long extended sex.
yeah,
Yeah.
and her best friend walks in on them
Oh,
together.
yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
scene, it
she
was
finally
so
sees him.
yeah, and she's like, "Oh my gosh," and he's like, I pay your bills or whatever, like, I sign your checks, your paychecks, and stuff like that."
Yeah.
But it was just something where I was like it was also another like, there were all these wholesome moments spread throughout the
Yeah.
book that I was like, "Fuck,
Yeah, I'm like,
damn it."
"Wait, he's actually kind of hot." Like, oh my gosh. But, no, yeah, I felt that way during that scene too. I remember it what was so funny about that was the scene after it was in Zayd's POV from what I remember, and it's like, "We had sex all night. I took her every which way besides her asshole," or something like that, and I was like, "But not like, eventually he will," is what he says. I just like, I feel like Zayd he's also kind of like a funny character.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, he's even more funny in book 2, I can't lie. And even
Really?
Addie, like they're actually like funny characters, not just together, but like on their own, like in their own POVs when they're just like internal dialogue, they're just like saying funny shit. And Loki, I LOL'd.
Okay, there are some like aspects of the book that I was like laughing at. Like there were things that she would say, and I was like, "Damn, Addie's low key funny. Like
No,
I like
yeah,
this
she's
girl."
very
And I
like
would
gatekeep boss girl boss.
girl
Sorry.
boss gatekeep
Yeah.
gaslight.
Yes.
I do.
Not all the
I
time, but a lot of the times. I remember like, like when she refers to God, she's like, she.
she yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God is a woman. I'm like, okay. Thank you.
I resonated with that. I was like, "Thank you. Thank
Yeah, I was
you."
like, it's a girl.
Yes.
She's one of us. She's a
I was
girly.
like,
She's a
I feel
girl's girl.
this.
Yeah.
She's a girl's girl, yeah. But like there and that's why I think I kept reading the book even if it did push my boundaries a little bit
Yeah.
or and cross the line in places that I don't think it should have. I was still like
Right.
it's still a good story and I think and I recognize that that's probably why she added that in there is like to make you feel conflicted like that and to make you want to keep reading, but also still feel the same way Adeline does of I don't know what to do. Like I'm attracted to this man and I'm starting to fall in love with him, but also he's a he's a murderer and he kills people. And like it's just and it's kind of like a double it's a mirror to her own Gigi. Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
literally a mirror and the like little letters that she puts in or like journal entries that she puts in at the end of the chapters and stuff
Yeah.
was so interesting to listen to and to read. So it definitely sorry, I'm yawning. It definitely
No,
was a good book overall.
I
And so
get why it's
that's
popular, because
yeah,
it's like I read it more out of curiosity, not I'm like I was so like I was anticipating this read in any way, shape, or form. I just
yeah,
wanted to know what it was about. Like that was it. Like I was like, why this book is getting so much hype right now, especially on book talk and this and that. Everyone's talking about it. There's also such a division in which like, okay, there's people that extremely hate it and extremely love it, and some people that are kind of in the middle. I'm like overall, um, not in the middle, but in the middle, like above the middle, but not the very end, if that makes sense. Like in between that. Like the
yeah.
75%. Yeah.
I'm definitely still in the gray zone when it
Yeah.
comes to this book. I think
I can't wait until you read book 2.
mhm,
Like not saying like you'll just forget everything that happens in book 1,
yeah,
but you do get a different light. You get like, "Oh, okay, interesting."
okay.
Um,
I'm excited to read book 2
yeah.
now. It's coming in on April 1st, so hopefully they don't fool me and deliver it another day, but
You're right. Yeah. And like I remember like even reading this book, like the pages are so white, and I don't know if you have the physical book with you, right?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, and, like, the first book, okay, it's, like, the line spaces are, like, really far apart, I don't know if it's the same one on yours. Are they the same? Is yours more white or yellow? Yours looks more yellow, or is it the
It's
case?
white. It's just my light.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Okay, yeah, so
it's
ours
pretty
is the
white.
same. Ours is the same. Book 2, the making of it is different. It's, like I think the pages are still white, but the spacing between the lines I don't know, this is really my graphic design brain just, like, talking right now. But the spacing between the lines is much more readable. I feel like this font and like the way it's paged on the page, the way it's built, it's
Mhm.
really honestly my graphic design brain is just like I can't believe it's like made like this. Oh my gosh! But like book 2, the making of it, like the physical making is better.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but no, yeah, like it also book 2 just made me really happy. I gotta say that. Like it made me so beyond happy and you feel every single freaking emotion in book 2. Like, okay, me, like, I don't get too emotional when it comes to books. It really just depends what genre it is. But like, you think dark romance, you don't get that emotional or whatever. Tell me why I wasn't fucking tears in book 2. Like,
You were?
yeah, no, it was actually like I was I was just so sad at some of the situations that happened. But like I, understand that like I ended it with the biggest smile on my face and everything.
Okay.
Um, but I was just like, damn. it was like really one of those moments in which you're stunned at what is going on, what the characters are going through, and you also think about like this isn't like a shy away from what happens in real life. And I don't know, I got to a point in which I was like, I'm just so sad
Mhm.
with everything that's going on in this book. And it's not just the main character like Addie, it's even Zayd. Like you wouldn't even think I would feel that sad for him or anything like that for whatever he may be going through. But I was like, and not even Zayd and Addie, like the other characters and stuff, like well, Addie's best friend.
I
Dara?
forgot her name.
Dara, Dara,
Dara.
Dara,
Yeah.
yeah. Like it's the whole
Yeah.
book two is just a story for it's more than just the Zayd and Addie. It's just a little bit just so much goes down, okay? But yeah, like
Maybe I
just
start tonight and I just read it
yeah,
on my Kindle.
yeah, me, I'm just like just start it so I can vicariously live through you. And part
Oh
of
my
me wishes
gosh.
I could just like delete this book from my brain so I can reread it again because I read them so fast. Like I read them one after one another, and I didn't think I would. I'm like I'm not a reader like that. I'm a very slow reader.
Mhm.
Um, but it really just kept me in. Like regardless of the plot and the situation and the characters and everything that's happening, the writing is just so it really keeps me in. Part of it was kind of cringy, like book 1 at least, but book 2, the
Yeah.
writing was way better, like 10 times better. Um,
Mhm.
but no, yeah, I haven't read anything else by H.G. Carlton, but if I do, the next book I'd read from her is probably the Does It Hurt one, and I heard that
Yeah.
one's also crazy.
I have it. It's with
Yeah,
Savar Miller too. I think they both they co-authored it together.
I
Her and
mean,
Savar Miller.
I didn't know that. Savar Miller's name is not on it, but I don't know if she
Maybe it was a different book then.
Are you thinking of the one with Emily McIntyre?
That's the one. What book was that?
My Beating Heart? Still Beating Heart?
Hold
Easy
on.
on My Beating Heart? It's something like that. Be Still My Beating Heart, right?
Yes, that one, that one.
Yeah.
That one's
The cover's similar because 'cause they're both bluish.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
only read I haven't read anything by Savar Miller, but I know you're a pretty big fan, so I can't wait to read her books. And you also said, like, one of them's, like, Stalker, and,
Mhm.
wait, is how do you this is definitely not the first Stalker romance I've read,
Mhm.
but it's, like, one of the first ones I read in a long time from when I
Mhm.
read it. Like, other stuff is just kinda, like, fan fiction and stuff that I've read, but no, yeah, and even wait, have you read, Emily McIntyre books? Like
I
the
have not. So I'm in grad school right now, so
Oh,
I've just
yeah.
been so busy with grad school that I haven't been able to read much. This is like the first book I've read of 2023.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, you really wow. I haven't read a book well, actually, um, I know we're kinda going off subject, but,
No, you're good.
I well, did I finish it? Yes, okay. Things We Never Got Over, that's the last book I read, but I've
You
been
gave it
really
1 star?
yeah, it was not good. Like, okay, I have you read it?
No, but I have it. It's
You're not gonna like it. If I didn't like it, you're
oh
not gonna
dear.
like it. Yeah, I'm like
Interesting.
and I don't understand anyone that I know reading is subjective, but I literally don't understand how anyone liked it. I'll talk to you about it, like, later, like,
Yeah.
offline
Yeah.
and
You'll
everything,
text me.
but if I didn't I didn't like it one bit. You're gonna fucking hate it.
Oh
Like,
dear. Oh
yeah,
dear. That
but
does remind me, since we did do some shop stuff for that drop because Grace
oh,
does
you
like
did?
the book.
It's actually a great freaking book. You guys should go buy their merch. Yeah.
I'm gonna segue into as we end this stream, I'm going to promote our shop, a verybookishshop.com.
Yes, we love
And we have a dark romance club hoodie. So if we do
Ooh,
the
I love that
second book,
design.
I
Oh,
actually designed this one.
for Hunting I thought we were talking about Things We Never Got Over, that you made merch
No.
for that.
Oh, we did
Oh,
too. We did. But
oh,
this one,
okay, different, okay, yeah.
yeah, this is for our dark romance reader
That is
girlies and
cute.
guys and theys.
Yes.
It is from our University of Smutsville collection. And if you're interested, you can rep your love of dark romance. We have the club hoodie. We also have it in a sticker format as well. And
Beautiful.
then we also have, I don't know where it's at, it's somewhere, but we have our sweatshirts as well. So we have quite a bit of stuff on our shop, so if you wanna go ahead and check it out there, I'll have it linked down below. We have the University of Smutchville sweatshirt, which I'm wearing right now.
Beautiful.
I love them. These are cozy. I love
Yeah.
the feel of these. It lasts well in the wash. I've probably washed this like 10 or 15 times, and it's pretty still
Yeah,
hanging in there.
it's in there.
So I wash it probably once a week. So if that gives you any detail as to how much I wash it probably once a week because I wear it at least once a week.
That's good quality. That is money well spent.
So it's kind of like we have all of our stuff. So we have everything. We have some good girl merch that says such a good girl. And Zayd likes to say that to Addie.
We love the praise.
We have a Steamy's Sayings collection that has also a candy heart sweatshirt that has little sexy sayings on the candy heart.
The eyes on me. Oh, that's like my favorite.
Yes. So we have those, and we have the Brutal Ladies merch, of course. Brutal Ladies merch from Sophie Lark's Brutal Birthright series. Right. We now have stickers available for all of the designs, individual shirts. So we have those available. And also we have our Smut Lover collection, just our mug and tote bag that I have both of and use regularly. But that's kind of, I wanted to shout out our shop and kind of give you guys somewhere if you want to shop. We also have a Cloverlay Farms from Elise Silver. Elise Silver.
Oh, Elise Silver, yeah.
Yeah. So we have all that jazz, and so I just wanted to let you know that we got those. And so if you're interested, you can purchase it from us there. And I know Ayman is going to break her fast, and I am going to go finish homework for my grad school, my MBA classes. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast here, guys. But thank you, everyone who has been watching, even though I can't really see your comments either because on my end, I accidentally fucked up and did something different. So if you commented, I didn't see it, and neither did Ayman, but
yeah, I didn't see any comments, but
it's fine.
I saw them in spirit.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. Sorry.
Yes, of course. And thank you for coming on. Oh, my cat is coming here.
Hello, sir. He's like, this is my territory. Let me take over the podcast or the live stream. But
okay, please don't touch the mic or my stuff. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, guys. I hope you liked this. If you did, let us know, and maybe we'll get Salma on for next month, and we'll talk about hunting Adeline. So I'll see you guys then, and we're going to end the broadcast here. So bye, guys.
Bye.